our favorite guests because he never has an opinion. One of the best in our business over the last 40-plus years, play-by-play voice. You've heard him do everything from the Olympics to golf to basketball to football. His name is Tim Brando, and he works for Fox Sports right now. And he was golfing this morning, had the PGA Championship over the weekend. I'm sure you had your eyeballs on as well. How big is it, though? I mean, Scheffler's playing great. These guys are all trying to win these majors. But when you see them react the way one of the best golfers react to winning these things, how much pressure do you think that they're putting on themselves for those 4 days on the course like Scotty Scheffler?
I think it's the most pressure in sport, Rob. And if you've ever, anybody that's ever picked up a golf club and attempted to play it, and you came from a sport that was mostly mental, a lot physical, yes, but mostly mental. And I think it's one of the reasons why guys that used to play baseball that maybe can't anymore love to play golf. It's because it's the closest thing in terms of torment that you can possibly do. I mean, it is.
Yes.
And baseball in and of itself can be tormenting, yes, but you've got the team aspect that can, blow you up. Like, for instance, let's say you went out during your Nasty Boys days and, maybe you gave up a 3-run dinger, but your guys picked you up, and maybe there was a comebacker that they could have gotten another run, and you fielded it and made a good play. You could still say, hey, something good happened, even though, I was on the cusp of a blown save.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and in baseball, hell, I had a lot of 0 for 4 days, a lot of 0 for 5 days. But if I made a play when the shortstop went in the hole and I scooped it up with a nice long stretch, a la Wes Parker way back in the day, I'd go back to the dugout and guys are thanking me, like, hey, man, you just saved us a run. Something good can happen that you can feel positive about. In golf, man, if you suck, you suck. And there's no getting around it. And it's you sucked all day, and nobody can try to pick you up in any way, shape, fashion, or form. Okay, so it's exhilarating, yeah, but it's frustrating as hell. And you take that into account, and then you watch a guy as successful as Scotty Scheffler has been. And I think I said this when you guys last had me on, and Rory won the Masters, which I thought was great for golf. I think it's equally great that Scheffler is now, among the elite and doing things that only Jack and Tiger have done, and that is win a third major before he turns 30. By the time he's 29, that's strong stuff. I mean, that's the stuff of legend. The sport desperately needs it because I think on whole, the sport of golf is really suffering right now. There's a lot of negative energy out there. The live thing, while it's making the players a lot of money, it's been divisive for the sport. And I think that the PGA, while you've seen a lot of young guys emerge and get their first wins, the PGA is suffering because they lost so many big names. Fewer people are watching televised golf now than before, and that's not good. So I think more people would watch a lot of the regular tournaments, a lot of the tour events, if all those guys were playing, or at least had the option to play every week, and they don't. So, when you only have 4 chances to see, DeChambeau or Koepka or, name the guy on the live that you love watching to go along with the guys on the, on the PGA Tour, and most of those guys are only playing a handful of tour events, not as many as some of the guys just trying to get in the top 125 and hold on to their cards. Golf has suffered as a sport. So what's going on with Rory having won the Grand Slam, and now a guy like Scheffler, who's loved by everybody. If you've ever met him, if you've ever been in his midst, he really is, as his dad said to him when he was hugging him, I could not be more proud of how tough you are and the sweetest boy you could possibly be. That was a very fatherly thing to say to his kid as he was coming to him in the aftermath of winning. And his emotional response to that victory, told you, that winning another major, one like the PGA, just as will the U.S. Open when that happens, and I don't doubt that it will at some point, to go along with the two Masters jackets, the two green jackets. That was huge for him, huge. So I think Scheffler is the best competitor in golf. I think Rory has the best shot-making ability in golf. He hits the best ball, no doubt about it. But he cannot equal Scheffler in terms of consistency and domination and consistency. We haven't seen this since Tiger Woods. I mean, we haven't. So, yeah, will he be able to keep it going as long as Tiger Woods? Maybe. We'll see. Longevity is a lot of it too, but it was great to watch. It really was. I didn't get to see as much of it as I'd like. You were giving me that lovely intro, and I have done a lot of different sports, but I had to work the UFL for the first time on Saturday, so I debuted at 69. There was a sport I hadn't done, so I got to do it on Saturday. I did a UFL game between the Stallions and the Battlehawks, so I was popping my cherry of spring football, first time since the original USFL back in 1985. So I missed the third round, but I had it on tape. I was catching up once I got back home on Sunday.
All right, tell us what you observed. Like, what do you think about this league? Is there actual talent there, and does it have legs to stay on for another few years? Does it have a future?
Well, it's going to stay on for a few years because they've got a CBA that runs for another 2 years. And look, right now, to be honest with you, Ben, it is a made-for-TV event that both ESPN and Fox have invested in, and the blueprint, the business blueprint, was put together by the man that I work for at Fox. He put together the USFL while The Rock and his financial backers were doing the XFL thing, and then they merged the two leagues together for the first time last year. The quality of play is really good.
Yeah.
The coaching, I think, is legit. A lot of younger coaches are beginning to emerge. A guy like Anthony Beck, who I think really wants to be a head coach in the NFL, is coming along. Skip Holtz has reinvented himself. He's the king of spring. He's got a Birmingham team that is working on its sixth quarterback, and yet he's got him on the cusp of a four-peat. With the Stallions, the Battlehawks have drawn well. They had almost 30,000 fans in there for the game on Saturday after they had 5 tragic deaths in that city because of a tornado that they were right in the middle of the day and the night before the game was played. I do think there's some issues that they need to iron out. First and foremost, I think they need to find local ownership to take some of the financial heat off of the league being owned basically by the networks. They need to do that. That's number one. Number two, they need to, in my opinion, go with a draft that will allow more players from their regions. A lot of the teams, this league started out as one that was based in San Antonio, and they called it the AAF. Then Fox came in, put everybody in Birmingham. It's a developmental league, Ben. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
This is not anything remotely close to what the first iteration of the USFL was. Eric Shanks just took the USFL because he had the opportunity with the naming rights to do so. It was interesting because they initially had to face a lawsuit for that, and then ultimately ESPN had the XFL, and the two entities decided to merge, and the lawsuit went away. I think, honestly, with college football in the position that it is today, with the NIL and the portal, we're not seeing players come into the National Football League now as developed as we once did. And I think one of the reasons for that is these players are not part of a program for 3 or 4 years of development. They're getting their money and then they're leaving to go someplace else to get more money. So football needs a developmental league. And so it serves a strong purpose, I think, for the NFL, for the UFL to be in existence. What they should do, I don't think they're ever going to, let's face it, they're not going to rival the NFL in terms of players, but what they can do is provide those players to come into their league that are more developed than they would otherwise be, and give these guys, and they're making a good income. Listen, if you had a chance to play ball, make somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000 for 8 to 10 weeks of work in the spring and summer. You'd do it if your legs were good enough. And if you have an opportunity to see a chance to make an NFL roster, and many of these guys have, there are a lot of stories of these players that have, then that's a good thing. But they have to generate more local interest and regional interest. And the way to do that is to make these teams draft players from their region of the country. Have a set geography that they can choose from. Like, for instance, last year, A.J. McCarron was quarterbacking, the former Alabama quarterback was quarterbacking in St. Louis. He should have been in Birmingham.
Yep.
A.J. McCarron won a national championship at Alabama. In the old days, 40 years ago, when the Birmingham Stallions were playing, I was calling some of their games, and Joe Cribbs, the former Auburn running back, Joey Jones, the former Alabama wide receiver, Cliff Stout was quarterbacking in Birmingham. They had a bunch of players from that part of the country, and it stimulated growth, I think, of interest in the locales. To get some water cooler talk would be, or more of that, to get more water cooler talk would be good. And listen, Max Duggan, who was quarterbacking St. Louis the other day, this guy's 2 years removed from playing for the national title and finishing runner-up to Caleb Williams for the Heisman Trophy. And last year, after he got cut by the Chargers, he had nowhere to play. He wasn't playing anywhere in 2024. So, that's kind of a shame. I think these guys deserve an opportunity to play. Baseball's got a developmental program, has for years. Basketball certainly has always had a developmental program of some type. Now it's the G League. Before that it was something else. But football really needs it now more than ever, and I think the UFL is providing that. And the ratings, for the most part, even though they've slipped a little bit this year, I think they would improve mightily if some of those little nuanced changes could take place, and I think they're looking towards that.
Listen, I watched a lot of it. We have Battlehawks Anthony Beck on all the time.
Yeah, he's great.
He used to play with the Jets, and he's a great guy.
You nailed it. He
guy.
wants to be a coach.
You nailed it,
Super
yeah.
guy. He's going to be an NFL coach, in my opinion.
I think so.
I mean, it's only a matter of time. He and Skip they've separated themselves. And Holtz, by the way, he really doesn't want to coach in college again. He's loving what he's doing. And what he's done, I mean, he's making 7 figures now with what he's done. Okay, and so there's some money to be made in the UFL, and I think there's some development that can happen that can bring people to it. Again, they just have to find a way to get more marquee names from a certain region of the country where these franchises are located. And once they do that, then maybe it'll matter a little bit more. Having the two companies that carry more football than anybody else, and that would be Fox and ESPN, is also a good thing. They just need to build on it.
Talking to Tim Brando from Fox Sports, let's talk about the NBA playoffs. I know they're hard to watch. The Knicks just took out the Celtics, though, 4-2, which I think is good for the sport. We cover these teams all the time. But there were 85 threes shot in this Game 6 between the Knicks and the Celtics. That's very hard to watch. I know that you can't watch it, and a lot of other people can't watch it right now. What can we do? What's a way moving forward, though, Tim, to maybe get people to want to watch the NBA again?
I really don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. And you know me, I love basketball, and I'll watch. And I did watch some of the Knicks and the Celtics because of the players involved. I mean, I know Tatum, and the loss of Tatum hurt the C's, no doubt about it. And those Villanova kids, I have the utmost respect for all of them. Hart, Brunson, all those guys, that they really were special. And I got to know them really well in the Big East. And I know Jay Wright's got to be beaming with pride, and a lot of people are. But, the reality is, fellas, the game itself, just structurally, is hard to watch. I mean, basically it's ISO only, and 4 guys lined up at the 3-point line, waiting to see if the driving guard is either going to take it all the way to the rack or if he's going to drive, draw, and kick it out for a 3. I mean, that's really what the game has become.
You should be a coach.
There's no low post play whatsoever. None. And the only big guys that people, I was like really hopeful that Edey would have a good year, and Zach has had a decent year. But even you've seen with him, how many times he's shown you that he's been able to learn how to play face up. He's not really posting up, but he's learned how to face up. Guys that are that big and that strong and are such difference makers, not being allowed to turn their derriere in towards the basket and use their size to be a factor. I mean, think about what a waste it would have been in the NBA had Shaquille O'Neal come into a league that's playing the way it is now versus the way it was then in the mid-'90s. Okay, I mean, and I go back, the golden era of the NBA, in my view, the 70s and 80s, but in the 90s, it was still being played at a very hard level. Now, when Riley went to New York, he clearly decided, you know what, we're going to defend our asses off, and you know what, it'll turn into some mugging, and that's what happened. We had a lot of, I mean, it was like Requiem of the Big East every night in the NBA, only they were bigger and stronger, and we saw some ugly things happen in the days of the Nasty Boys in Detroit. But bottom line is, it was still a much more entertaining game to watch. Now, so much of it, and this really started happening when the commissioner lost control of the league, and I think that's what's happened here. When the players begin to run the league, and that's what's happened. That's what Adam Silver, in my mind, has allowed to take place. Then you've got real problems. Ownership can't do much about it. The Lakers-Mavs thing and what happened with that trade at the end of the year, you lose credibility when these things happen. Similar thing takes place, right? Remember the Chris Paul story?
Yeah.
And then David Stern stepped in and said, no, this is not going to happen.
Yep.
That didn't happen this time, did it? So when leadership becomes LeBron and LeBron's guys, then you got a credibility issue. So now these are items that guys in my profession that do what I do elsewhere can't say because, they're calling the games and and they don't want the bat phone to ring. I'm not calling the NBA, and I'm damn sure never going to call it again. I've made certain of that by saying I can't watch it. So, but, I love all of basketball, but I do not love the way the NBA is packaged, nor do I like the way it's played, and that makes it hard. I'll watch some of it. I'm not saying I won't, but at the end, we get to the finals and to the semifinals, the championships of the conferences. I'll watch some of it, and I'm going to be rooting for those Knicks kids because I like them. So I like them a lot. And you're right, Dibs. It's good for the league that team is doing what it's doing. I just wish it was more of an enjoyable watch, and it's not.
Is it tougher for you to watch a guy like Brunson's game maybe change a little bit from what you know him in the Big East and Villanova days? Or is it tougher for you to see a guy like a Sanogo? And you were talking about back to the basket. I keep thinking our easy bucket last year was Terrace Reed and just giving him the ball in the block. Is it tough for you to not see those guys even get a chance at the NBA? Or is it tough for you to see those guards change their game into the NBA?
It is, but I understand why they have to change their games. I do. What's really horrible to watch for me is when any player, I don't care who it is, has the ball on the three-point line and a simple ball fake, one ball fake, and the defender is just he's in the air.
Yeah.
He has because that's what you're supposed to do. In other words, you can be so late to close out on a player that you have to jump on a simple ball fake. There's not enough discipline to not take the ball fake and force the guy to do something else. How pathetic is that? Okay? And when I see that, I'm like, my God. These are the playoffs. Can't we at least have a little defensive discipline, to the game once we get to the playoffs? And for the most part, I don't see much of that. I mean, I really don't. The league just, I root. I've always been this way, Ben. I don't root for teams, but I do root for people I know and like, and that's sometimes coaches and players. And so I like all those guys. Josh Hart might be the guy that, for me at Villanova, was the lightning rod of what Jay Wright's program and organization was founded upon. And then you saw all these other guys that many said were never going to be first-round picks. You remember what was said by our friend over at the Worldwide Leader that, there's no draft picks on that team? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there were a few draft picks on that team. Why? Because
there's 3 on the Knicks if you throw Bridges in there. So,
but everybody, even now, I was listening to Coward earlier today, and I have respect for Colin. I do, and I don't consider his show, an embrace debate show at all. I think he's got some really quality acumen. I love some of the takes that he has when he applies what's going on in the real world to what's going on in the sports world. I do. But he spent about a half hour today trying to convince me that the NBA is doing everything in its power now to level things out and get more parity. The hell it is. I'm not going to buy into that at all. I mean, how else do the Lakers still get that much conversation about them? How else do the Lakers get a trade the way they got a trade at the end? It still doesn't help them. And you've got these buffoons that are on daytime cable that ought to be replaced by women and men in leotards. I don't care who they are. Just put exercise shows on. And they're trying to tell me that, oh, by the way, the Lakers are still a contender. Okay? I mean, anytime you've got a league where the best thing about it is watching the pregame show where the best players of the best era that maybe we had, for most people that are watching between 25 and 54, are basically telling you how bad the league is. When that's the show that everybody needs to see, then you know the situation the league finds itself in. And that, by the way, and it is there will be more drama on just how long Charles and Shaq and Kenny can actually stay on the Worldwide Leader once they get that show from TNT on the Worldwide Leader.
I can't wait.
You are so true.
That'll be the greatest drama the NBA has going for it. It won't be anything taking place on the floor. Or as our friend Hubie Brown used to say, on the floor. The floor.
You're a gem, my friend. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tim.
Time, and have a great Memorial Day.
You too.
God bless you,
Yep.
and we'll talk in June, okay?
Yep. God bless you also. Tim Brando, everybody. It's the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. Nick Federico is on our video for the YouTube channel. We'll be right back.
91 Southbound.